I'm doing something a little different today. Try to get this thing up.
We're not doing different, and that's enjoying a banana. Because by God, this little joker and I have a date together. Well, whoop that little devil, you know it. Good God Almighty.
Man, what a tune. What we're doing here, what we're reconvening for, is we're fixing to walk into an area that we had a little rundown with old Gobbler last year. And this reworked episode is going to be kind of a, going to take you to the...
He's like a little man of the banana world.
I love banana get caught between your teeth. But anyhow, we're going to go to the scene of the crime and reenact the whole thing, walk you through why we set up how we did. I guess this is going to be more of like a setup specific reworked episode. We're going to talk about the roll of the hill, the way it tapered down, why we got it, how we got into position before the gobbler ever knew we was there, how we used the terrain to our advantage, and how it ended up kind of...
I just want to check that scrape line while we're in here.
That's right.
I bet he hit it last night.
You better have your orange ball cap on. These boys probably zipping bullets around here about this time.
Tell you what, boy.
We're going in here in the middle of the day so we don't mess up any of y'all deer hunters. So
if it's brown, it's down.
I'm telling you what, and they rutting right now over here, boy.
Yep.
I think some people had requested a little insider info on your banana selection as well.
I told you that little joker didn't stand a chance. He gave me one little blink of the eye and it was the rest of it for him was history. Man, which one do you want?
The dead and the live.
You want that one?
Them boys on borrowed time here, I can tell you. Riding around in this vehicle here.
Anything that's edible that gets in these two doors doesn't leave.
That's right.
It's the death wagon.
Even them Doritos between the seats.
They don't ever make it between the seats. Who are you kidding?
Yeah, down there licking the carpet. We'll start from the top as far as location. We're right outside of, is it Mobile? Is that town that's right down there?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where you find this type of terrain.
Southern Alabama.
Southern Alabama, right there where it runs off into that big pond.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
And that's where you can find this type of steep hardwood stuff. So, hear me say something. I was wondering why that thing was light. Damn. I just made a settings change.
We're not gonna have to do a second take, are we?
We don't do second takes. We just have shoddy footage.
I can't even spell second take.
My fault. I had the settings on this here camera dialed for some reason. I reckon it probably went in and out of my pocket. I talked to a boy yesterday afternoon. He said he heard 4 of them that morning out there trying to shoot a wood duck, I think.
Yeah.
He heard 4 of them hollering.
Yeah.
Rumor has it, boys.
Did he tell you where?
I know right where.
Oh, you know where he was?
Yeah, I can smell somebody. If they tell me where a turkey's at, I'll say, I know where you been.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I need. All right, we finna get in the woods.
Am I gonna have to go put it in the bed of my truck? You know, the way things have been going lately, I mean, you think I'd sleep with one of these things.
If anybody else remembers, me and Chubbs used to meet at a parking spot and we'd take off from there going hunting. Well, we had this black cat that plagued us at that parking spot so much that we eventually changed parking spots. That's kind of when everything went south, wasn't it? We had that about a week, 10 days there where it seemed like
pulling in there in the mornings and seeing him and having to go different
dodge
to get in to park the truck.
Okay, so first time Chubbs and I meet up to do this little recap thing or rework thing, guess what? It wouldn't hurt my feelings if it wasn't here.
Well, my problem,
man,
I don't know anything about cats, but how the heck do we get him to leave us alone?
Seems like it's gonna be tougher than getting the dog to leave us alone, isn't it?
Goodness gracious.
On our way in.
I hadn't had it chase after me like this in 20 years, have you?
We all know how these cameras get nervous when I get around water. So I'm gonna shut her down to make sure this goes as smoothly as possible. You were hoping for a spill there, weren't you?
Funny thing is, that cat acted just like a real lady. After about 10 minutes a day, she done turned around and hit the road. You know what they call that? Them signpost rubs.
Is that what it is?
All the neighborhood boys like to hit that one.
Is that what it is?
I think so. Hold on. Yeah.
So we've made it to the scene of the crime. This is the tree I was at. That's the one Chubbs was at. What we're going to do is Chubbs is going to kind of walk through this thing, and I'll sit here and narrate it as to the way we approach the turkey. First off, we're up toward the top now because this is about the point to where we caught up with him. The turkey roosted right back in there and flew down and started going down. And we were side hilling or side mountaining, I guess you'd say, up to catch up to him, and ended up letting him go down, and we got essentially the perfect spot. We were sitting here looking at it again, and we were like, man, if I had it to do over again, I'm not sure I would do anything different.
Even if you're by yourself with no camera?
By yourself, no camera or anything.
Yeah.
Because from where we sit right here, we can cover everything. He almost played the game too perfect, and we'll explain what we're talking about here in just a second. But man, I mean, this is a money setup right here.
And really, too, one thing to add, that it's not so much, most of the time when something goes wrong, it's because we did it. We screwed up or whatever. But one thing that's really unique about this spot is the turkey got within, 45 steps of us?
And if it wouldn't have been for this trash that I'll show y'all in just a second, he'd have probably walked out with us. But
that's what I was going to say. It's like, if they could actually see what it looks like, and I guess you can show them in a second, looking down through there. He came just a little too far to our left. Had he topped out 3, 4, 5 yards to the right, I think you'd have killed him.
Yeah. Which may have been my fault. I was wanting to play, as you can see where we're sitting here, that's the crest right there, which is 35.
About I'll go over
to the left of there. It's about 35, which is about where we like for it to be. And if we would have set up just 20 yards further down, you get more into the dip of this little chute that was running off the mountain here, and that steepness causes that rollover to be kind of confining. So if he'd have rolled over, if it had went high, which a lot of times they do,
you'd have been in a pinch.
You'd have been in a bad pinch. You know, you'd have been able to have those deafening footsteps and been, you know, if you'd have been off an inch, he would have been able to get away from you.
You're literally like less than 10 feet from where it starts to fall.
I mean, you can see right here, I mean, it literally falls off. And right here where we're at, we're kind of right where that little chute kind of flattens out just a little bit. But I'll give you a spin it around, and there's the top of the ridge that we used as a blessing and a curse, because that's what allowed us to get as close to the turkey as we did. Because as you can see, the woods were just as dead as they are now, and that rolling topography there allowed us to get up essentially in the perfect situation to get a setup on him and kind of get inside that bubble. And
you very rarely can you get that close to one
this early in the season.
He knows he's there, the first of the season. It was absolutely perfect.
And you can see there's the top where it rolls over, and then it gets in this little bowl right here, this nice little bowl. And that's where we wanted to set the scene. I was trying to draw him into this bowl because the turkey, when we set up, was basically, he's not over the ridge directly parallel to us, he's downhill from us. So he's down there, but he's still over that ridge. And I'm trying to drag him across right in here is where we'd like for him to set up, because that means he's going to roll over somewhere between 40 and 35 if he chooses right up in here.
Right.
And I mean, what else can you ask for? But I was nervous that the turkey was going to take the high ground. They so often do. So you'll see in the video, I set the scene. I walked right up here to the top where we wanted him to crest over, and that's where he heard our first call, was right there. And of course he hammered it. because I wanted to paint the picture of the hen walking down to the left so that he would more or less kind of cheat to the left, because the last thing I wanted him to do is kind of climb up and get directly beside us, because as you can see, I mean, the top of that ridge right there now is what, 15 yards?
If you didn't have your bead on him when he topped out, pretty good chances you're not even
you're not going to get a shot at him, and you're going to have to scalp the top of the ground. And I mean, I'm sure we've all killed many of them that way, but it's just not preferred as the margin of error is considerably smaller. So try to illustrate what would have happened if it had got in tight. I don't know if this camera, if you can really tell, I mean, he's 20-ish yards there, maybe a 25, but later, yeah, being he's 3 foot tall. But you can see if he'd have got up on our uphill side up here, how close, how tight he would have been before he would have crested. Anyways, I walked him down this way. Just trying to safeguard ourselves against him getting in here and getting tight and getting a pinch. But it almost, I guess you can say, it worked too well, because he swooped so far left that you can see down that chute right there, we can see a solid 60, 70 yards.
And once he topped, he came a pretty good
way.
way.
A good way. He was in such a good mood.
He was running.
He was running.
Yeah.
I mean, he was covering that ground really tight, and I thought we were good. But I think I said it as soon as he started running off. I thought I did not like how far he had to come before we was going to be able to kill him.
It's way too far.
It's too far in these dead woods. At late spring with some green on all this underbrush and stuff, I'd been confident in him not getting suspicious, but
or if we had the strutter decoy, it would have been over.
I think it would have been over, yeah. That's the part of the hunt, that decoy.
Wait a minute. We don't even own a strutter decoy.
That's why setups are so important when you hunt the style that we do, is because setups are essentially everything. Location, location, location. You'll hear us harp that and continue to harp that, because, and everybody, and I've even seen comments about how much we strategize those last, like before our butt hits the ground, how much we strategize on exactly where we're setting up. I mean, I will strategize between here and this tree right here, which is 5 yards away. I'll sit here and just steam over that, because that could be make or break.
It could be a mile.
I mean, we strategize that last little, we try to paint the picture. You got to paint that picture and visualize it before it happens. And I guess the more turkeys you fool with, the more experiences you got in your bank, so more that you can.
I don't think there's anything, there's no gimmick, there's no tool, there's no trick that you can buy, study, or whatever. There's nothing that's gonna improve your setups and success other than just experience.
Exactly. So you can't sell that.
That's worth mentioning, that as you sit here and you look at what you did that morning and kind of how the whole thing was played, and not to sound like, oh, every time we sit down on a turkey it's right, because
9 out of 10 times it's not.
Absolutely. But if you look back on this one, like you said, well, if you were by yourself, how would you do it? Well, due to the topography right here, it's perfect. But what I'm trying to say is this: even though you threw the call there and then you brought it over here and you played him here, he followed it hook, line, and sinker all the way around. But in a perfect world, had he split the difference from the first call to the last call, that would have been ideal.
Perfect.
But there's always that the chance of when it rolls down, there could be a tree falling down.
You don't ever know.
There could be a thicket there that kicks him one way or the other. So
you try to play the middle ground.
Yeah.
You try to play it to where if you hook, line, and sinker perfectly, it'll work. But if you always expect him. I always err, like you really got to have a gullible one for him not to take the high ground. They live by their eyes. They want to be able to see. They want that high ground. They want to be above whatever they're looking down into. They get a better visual. Everything just works in their favor if they get the high ground. But that bird just took it hook, line, and sinker. That little clump right there saved him. Because he walked in down that little wide open gap there. And buddy, if he'd have been there when he craned that old head up, then it would have been game over. We'd have been slinging some TSS through his hardwoods. But as luck has it, he was in perfect view for the camera when he did the old crane neck deal, but he was right there for me. Let's recreate this thing. What do you think?
Sure, man.
So we had come from the left in this little swell here, and we had that ridge there as cover, which is what allowed us to get this close. We split about where Chubbs is now, and he came up here to the tree because we spotted these two staggered mountain oaks up here just above, and I made my first call to that turkey somewhere about right there where he's at. Got to right before my head was going to crest that hill there, and I cast a call, and he was basically right directly in line with us here. I cast my call, he gobbled. I scratched some leaves if I remember correctly, and then I just worked him to the downhill side to try to get him to go more to the left rather than the right, which we've already spoke about why. And then after I got him to gobble a handful of times and had his attention directed right in here, we retreated back here, and that's when you watched it all go down. It makes me feel a little bit better that we're sitting down looking at the setup now, and even now we probably wouldn't have changed a whole lot, so it makes me feel a little better, I guess. Not a whole lot, because he still ran off, but ain't a whole lot would have done different.
I tell you what, with all this scratching in here, there's a pretty good chance that
We may get a do-over.
we may get a redo on this one.
I hope that explains exactly what we did and why we did it. Can you think of anything we've left leaf unturned, so to speak? Honestly, I thought this was going to be a little easier when we got out here to explain.
Well,
I'm hoping it does. I'm hoping it comes across clearer than it seems.
So hard to actually see depth and perception.
Yeah.
But if you could actually stand here and see it, which I hate to break it to you guys, none of you are ever going to have that opportunity.
That's another one of those situations to where everybody is in a hurry to set up on a roosted turkey, and there should be no rush. I understand, I've done it before too, and I still do it if the situation presents itself to getting close to a roosted turkey without risking bumping them. But you got to consider when these woods are this dead, when the turkey's up on a tree limb, so he's 25, 30 feet, whatever, however, he can see a long ways, and you have an upper hand if that turkey gets on the ground, and you can use this rolling topography to get on him.
We were really patient when he started gobbling, remember?
Yeah.
And then once he flew down, we really were able to cover some ground.
Yeah. You know, there's a fine line there between when it's a good idea to try to bust in and get on one on the roost. If you can do it safely, by all means. I love being set up on a turkey before it flies down, trying to influence the way he pitches down and which way he decides to go for the day. But I would say at least 50% of the time I'm holding back and letting them turkeys fly down, and sometimes even show me which route they're planning on taking already, you know?
And another thing too, if he sits up on the limb, remember he gobbled pretty decent, didn't he, on the roost?
Mm-hmm.
If he sits up on the limb and he's gobbling and he's not gobbling a hen up, or he doesn't hear a hen calling anywhere near him, once he flies down, he hasn't heard a hen, he doesn't have a hen, he wants a hen, right? So once he flies down, and wherever it may be, in this case he started to go down, the terrain allowed us to get so tight on him before he knew we were there. It's like the minute you called to him,
he's
things
convinced.
happened so much quicker than had we gone in and caught him on the limb, tree called to him, and he had more time to soak everything in.
Yep.
Do you think that plays any correlation into setups as far as... I firmly do, because I think his anticipation, his anxiety was already
elevated for
by
sure.
the minute of not hearing a hen.
Yep. Anyways, that'll do for this reworked episode. Hope you guys was able to learn something from it. Other than setups, as far as calling techniques, it was pretty cut and dry. You could have called that turkey up with a coffee straw. I'm pretty convinced, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know how much you stress throughout the course of all the rework stuff, but there's nothing more important than where you decide to set out.
Yep.
That's a good point for you to touch on. When you struck the turkey from where you did, I think a lot of people, the minute that turkey answers them, they go into like a panic mode. And they've got to get set up. And a lot of people may not have called again, and they would have called from that one location and ran up here, or whatever the case may be. But the fact that you were patient and you were moving just like she would have done.
Just like she would have done. I do a lot of scratching when the leaves are this loud.
Yeah.
He expects to hear that. You try to
paint the picture.
Try to figure out what he's going to be hearing. That he's listening to everything that's going on too. So hearing a hen
How real
call,
would it have been had you clucked there, and then he gobbled at it, and then he didn't hear anything
else. Yeah, because these leaves were so loud. They're as loud as they are today. I mean, just extremely dry and loud. And for him not to hear her walking and scratching and stuff as he knows there's a turkey that close to him, it would have been unrealistic. So,
and moving, like that calling as far as the fading, because the way this lays, that was throwing that sound out
right down that.
You just don't win them all, man.
You don't win them all. It hurts to lose, but you don't. Well, I hope y'all like this one. This was a reworked site visit.
That's about as realistic of a rework as you can get.
I guess so. Y'all let us know what y'all want to see next, if anything, or if there's anything we didn't answer, or something else you want us to try to explain. We'll try.
Man, I could sit here all day.
My time allotment for you is about up. I think we need to head out.
Isn't that the truth? Jeez.